Hey everyone, and welcome to Project Premium Harvest. My name is Matt. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my portfolio for the second week of 2025. Woo! Right, we're going to talk about the portfolio overview, some market conditions, the distribution I made, and then we're going to start from there. So let's get going. As you guys can see, my portfolio is currently at $89,023.69. Right, that is pretty good. However, in the last week, because of market conditions, it went from $99,000 to $89,000, right? If you have a bigger account, this is what's going to happen. The downward trends are going to seem a lot more heavier because you have more money. However, from $1,000 account, there's, 5% dip isn't as much, but if you have $100,000, 5% feels like an immensely heavy burden. But because the market is down, I bought some SPY leaps that are 2 years out so that once the market corrects and heads back up, I'm going to capitalize on it and make some money, right? But just for people that aren't familiar with my account, I'm just going to talk through what I have in the account, right? So I have about 1,500 shares of nvdy. So the way I operate with nvdy, this is usually what I use to pay back my heloc loan. Everything net from nvdy pays back the heloc loan. Anything outside of nvdy, that is just straight cash in my pocket, or it's paying back the margin I'm using to borrow to make more money, right? So we have the nvdy shares, but then rdte, I have about 1,400 shares. xdte, I almost have 1,200, getting close to that 1,200 mark. Ymax, about 1,000. Ymag, 1,000. jepq. So from my last video, I added about a $20,000 position into jepq. Wanted to increase it because I had some margin to burn after I sold ulty. So I wanted to invest it into a more safer investment. jepq is that investment. And same thing with gpix. I put another $20,000 into this fund so I can get a couple hundred more shares. It's a safer investment. It captures some of the S&P 500 growth, but it also pays a premium. So this was like a win-win for me. So it was like a safer investment because I'm heavily invested into nvdy, single stock ETF, high income, very volatile, very erratic movements, right? rdte and xdte, they don't have as much NAV erosion as some of the other yieldmax funds, but it is there, right? Depending on the day and depending on the market, but they're a lot more stable. And then the yieldmax funds, they're a lot more volatile, right? And then my last two funds, so amzp, I have like a $40,000 position, so 1,200 shares. And then goop, I recently added to this in the last week. I bought another $20,000. So the coming premium for kurv is going to be, I believe, January 23rd. So it's about 2 weeks away. So we have one more week of light payments this week. And then on the 23rd, I'll have a spike in my distribution chart. All right. So now speaking of charts, let's go over there. All right, guys, now that we are at the spreadsheet, we're going to look at the core foundational holding weekly payout. So basically this means for this chart is the total amount of premium I'm getting paid for that week. So let me scroll this over a little bit here. So for the January 10th week, I got paid $2,018. About $900 of this was from yieldmax distributions or some of my roundhill funds. However, I did run an options call on the S&P where it netted me about $1,100. So I added that into this calculation as well, right? So this is the total payment or payout for the second week of 2025, $2,000, pretty good. So starting in January, from the last 2 months combined, right, I made about $4,500, which is pretty good. That is the average American salary per month. Sat around, did nothing, and ran one option. Awesome. Moving down to the total account, right? The CFH, core foundational holding weekly account total. As you guys can see, there is a bit of a spike here because I added positions, about $60,000 into positions like goop, gpix, and jepq, right? You guys can see it's about that $60,000 mark. Sold out of ulty because that's a trash dumpster chute, fire, garbage, piece of shit fund that does never appreciate. So I took that money and put it into a better, smarter investment that appreciates and also pays a dividend. Cool. Soapbox out. Okay, scrolling down to now look at the xdte account value, scrolling all the way to the right. And right now, my xdte account value is at $58,160, right? It's definitely a little lower than when I first bought it at $58,820, but market is down. I do anticipate this going back up, so I'm not too worried about it. All right, scrolling down, And then this was the premium payment for xdte. That was $221.17, right? So these two December payments were very high. As you can see, that was almost double to triple what the weekly payment is for xdte. So that's a unicorn. It's not really going to happen often. So what's more likely is this January 3rd and this January 10th numbers, right? This 389 and this 221. Cool. Let me scroll out so that we can. So now let's look at rdte weekly value. So scrolling all over to the right. So right now for rdte, the total account value I have purchased, so almost what, 1,400 shares, is about $56,040. As you guys can see, it is down about $1,300 from when I bought it in at. But same thing as xdte, it's a downtrending market. Once the market recovers, these numbers will go back up and all will be well. And then for the premiums, kind of like xdte, but for rdte, it was a little lower. So it was about $289.72 for xdte's payout. Now we have ymax payout, or the ymax value, right? Initially started out at about $18,196, and it is down, you know, almost $1,000 or $500, $400. All right, definitely downtrending, but kind of how my answer to all the other downward trending funds are. It's just the market conditions right now. I do believe it'll go back up. So ymax premium last week, ymax for a $20,000 account paid me $149.68 for ymag. So I just bought into ymag starting in January. So I bought in almost $20,000, and it is down about $1,000. So that is not fun. But like all the other excuses I'm making, it's the market right now. And so for the ymag weekly premium, that was $161.43. That was my first one. Cool, guys. So that wraps up all of my dividends and the account values for each individual fund. Yeah, so I wanted to make this a quick update video for the second week of 2025, right? $2,000 premium, right? Market's trending downwards. However, I do believe it's going to recover. What I think is going to happen in 2025, and I'll just talk about some of my strategy that I'm thinking about moving forward, is for 2025, I think the S&P 500 overall will be up, but I don't think it's going to be around 20 or 30% gains like we did in 2024. I think it's going to be a little bit more choppy. There's going to be more ups, more downs, right? So especially investing in a yieldmax and round hill funds, you should only be buying these funds under your cost basis. So basically your dollar cost averaging, but not like to the extreme extent. Only buy on X dividend days so that you can get the best purchase price, because over time, those little pennies here, dollars there, hundreds and 200s, it's going to add up, right? So that's kind of my strategy. I'm currently reinvesting all of my dividends right now because the market conditions are showing that all of my funds are below when I bought in at. So the second these funds go higher than when I bought in at, I'm probably going to pause the drip on my Robinhood and just pull the money and then wait for a deep red day to then buy back in these funds. That's kind of the thought process, guys. Let me know what you think. What are your strategies? How did you do for this week? What does your portfolio look like? Let's get this community outreach going. Hell yeah. All right, guys. Love you out there. Enjoy your journey. Have fun out there. Matt out.